Okay, and we are up. All right, everybody. Hello, and thank you so much for tuning in today. Today, we are taking a trip to Miami, all the way up to Boca, and I've got my dear friends with me, Brett and David Haller, who are down in all of those areas, multiple places at once. But today, you are both on one screen, which is awesome, showing your One Sotheby's pride, which is great. So why don't you start by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name's Brett Haller. Born and raised in Miami Beach, Florida. Currently, I reside in Boca Raton. I've been working in real estate for the last 12 years. And for the last year, I've been with One Sotheby's. And my brother David and I have the Haller Group at One Sotheby's. And it's us, my father, my cousin, and then one of our best friends. So it's like a nice little family group. And we love living down here. We do a lot of business with you guys because, you know, Boca's kind of like the sixth borough of New York City.
I thought that was Miami.
What?
No, it's definitely not
definitely
Miami.
Boca.
No, okay, that's a myth right there.
Absolutely.
Yes. I lived, having lived in the city for quite a while myself, it's funny because now I see so many people that I knew from when I lived in New York that also are living down here. So I definitely think that there's such a direct kind of like pipeline between Boca, specifically like, you know, Palm Beach County area, and New York. So here we are.
Awesome.
There's not a day that goes by that we're not with clients or friends from Long Island or from New Jersey. But let me introduce myself. I'm David Haller. I've been in the business about 14 years. Brett joined me a couple years in. We did a lot of developments in South Florida, mostly in Miami, Aventura, Sunny Isles. And as we grew, we saw the market, shifting north, and we wanted to adapt and change. And we came up to Boca. We have family here for about 40 years, and it was just, a perfect fit for us.
Awesome. So you're in Boca, but you guys cover everywhere from Miami all the way up and everything in between.
We do. We have the reach with our team. We have agents.
Exactly.
That one that lives in Miami Beach, one that lives in Fort Lauderdale. We have another one that lives up here in Boca with us. So we're really all, within all three counties: Palm Beach, Broward, and Dade. Yeah.
Awesome. So let's break them down. What makes each of those counties different?
So, as we kind of migrated north and ended up in Boca, I would say that the biggest difference between living in a market like this as opposed to living in a market like Miami, having been born and raised and spent the majority of our life living in Miami, is that the Miami market and the Miami lifestyle in general, it's a bit more transient. So, I know once I kind of moved out of my parents' house at 18, and I had gone to college in Boston, but when I came back, I spent a lot of time, several years, in fact, living in Brickell and then in Midtown Miami. So even though you do get a little bit of like the New York City feel, not really, but because, you have the walkability and the restaurants and all of that, it's great in that aspect because you have a little bit more of an urban feeling. However, it's very, very transient. So for those people who are looking to do things like start a family or, move out kind of like to the burbs or have a little bit more of like a quiet lifestyle, and also, in an affordability factor, people are starting to really leave Miami. And where are those people going? They're going either north to Broward County or farther north to Palm Beach County. I would say the biggest difference between what I'm seeing here, where we are now, as opposed to where we came from in Miami, is that Miami has always seemed to be more of like a want-based market, whereas I feel like we're now living in a need-based market. And for the, all intents and purposes of real estate, I feel like you always want to be part of a market where there's always going to be somewhat of a need for clientele to purchase, especially with things like what's going on now, which is clearly something crazy that none of us probably would have least expected in our lifetime. Yeah. But one thing that I feel very confident about is that New Yorkers, people from New Jersey, Connecticut, Boston, Rhode Island, the whole Northeast, they all end up with a place down here. And what I love about Boca compared to, let's say, Miami, is the point of entry is very low, but it's also sky's the limit. you could buy a lovely little condo for $200,000, and then of course you could buy a mansion up to $30 million. So you really kind of have something for everyone. But what's nice is everyone gets to really enjoy the same lifestyle. And at the end of the day, you're only a 45-minute drive from Miami with no
That's
traffic.
it? From Boca to Miami, that's all?
Yes. It's
Oh,
not,
wow. I don't think I realized that.
Of course, you never want to go during rush hour.
Okay.
But
there's that.
Exactly. But by next year, we will have the Brightline train, which is now called Virgin. And that train will take you directly from East Boca, right off of US 1 Federal Highway, all the way to downtown Miami.
With stops in Fort Lauderdale, additional stops coming in Aventura, and it goes all the way north to Palm Beach. The plan with that Brightline, which is now, like Brett said, Virgin, Richard Branson's company bought it. It's going to eventually hit all the way to Orlando, and then with hopes to expand further west to Tampa, and eventually go to the north. But why that is so incredible is that people will be able to live in Boca, or Delray, Boynton Beach, Palm Beach, up here, and work in downtown Miami per se. Or for example, we have a development on our development division in downtown Miami. We could take that Brightline, we could get on, we could stay on our computers, work, have work calls, have our breakfast even. And then when we get off, it's 2 blocks from the project. Make our presentation, get right back on, and then come back up north to Boca, and then get with our showings.
Yeah, exactly. And from an affordability factor, I mean, it's very, very, very reasonable. I remember one summer I stayed with friends in Westport, Connecticut, and we were like bored out of our mind. So of course, what did we want to do was like go into the city every single day. And, for me at that time, I think I was in high school, it felt so different. I was like, this is what people do. They get on a train and they commute. I never thought we would really have that here, but if you think about it, it's much more affordable to get on a train and whatever it costs than to be at the gas station, filling your tank every few days with gas, and then the stress of sitting in traffic when you could literally just park your car at the train station or take an Uber, whatever, and then get on, you have your briefcase, your iPad, your laptop, whatever, and just make it more of an enjoyable experience. I think half of the stress we have when it comes to showings, if they're not right in our area, is the traffic. I get that. Exactly. So as the areas get busier, having that extra mode of transportation, I think will make a huge impact.
So do you think that more people will start to move there and work in certain areas and commute, like you were just saying? Like you guys do it how often? A couple times a week, or?
Well, right now we are only able to utilize it when we're in Palm Beach or Fort Lauderdale or Miami. It doesn't stop yet. It's coming within the year. It's all approved and they're working on it. But we do, for example, have one of the directors of development who lives in Fort Lauderdale, who moved up. Another example, prime example, an executive of Sotheby's who was living in Miami has now moved his life north to Broward County, downtown Fort Lauderdale. He takes a train every week into our corporate office, Miami Design District, back and forth. And I mean, it's just a perfect example of another professional using it all the time.
Exactly. And it goes back to the thing where, in Miami, everything as far as space is concerned is very limited. You can only build so many more towers. You can only build so much more. People are wanting homes. People are wanting, the space. So that's why we're seeing people move places like Fort Lauderdale and then north to Boca and Delray and Boynton Beach and West Palm and all of that. So, it's definitely a little bit of a different lifestyle, very different lifestyle. But we still.
What is the lifestyle like? Like you guys are young, but like let's say you've got grandparents moving to Boca, right? Like that's kind of what I envision, right? Like
lately,
higher.
Well, lately it's been bumping. I mean, I take my daily walk to the mailbox.
But regardless, otherwise,
20 miles. I just keep going and finding new spots. But it's been great. I mean,
it's great. There's nothing like masking up and going to the grocery store. You feel like the police are chasing you because you want to get out as quick as possible.
I'm gonna rob the place.
But what is it like? What was it like before?
I have to say, Boca and Delray Although, although our towns are adjacent, there's a lot of differences and a lot of similarities between the two areas. Demographic wise, I would say it's a little bit different, actually, a little bit more different than most people would realize. Boca really has that New York feel. When you're in, any suburb in, let's say, like Long Island, you have a very similar feel to Boca with, the local shopping centers with the delis and, everyone knows your name type thing. Whereas, Delray, you have the Avenue, which is great. So as far as us for like what we like to do, I mean, the demographic is constantly getting younger and younger.
Big turnover.
We live a little bit west, more like where the country club communities are. But if you do go towards East Boca, which is maybe like an 8-minute drive from here, it's all younger people. And, you walk downstairs, you have every restaurant you want. You have the Boca Resort, you have the Boca Beach Club, you have the beach, of course, which is beautiful.
Yeah.
But what's great is, I mean, any really like great restaurant or bar, I mean, everything's opening down here. We have so many great places.
We don't feel like we're having to go to Miami
exactly.
or we're having to go anywhere. And what's nice about being here in Boca is that we're much closer to a Palm Beach, or we're now going to Fort Lauderdale. It's not such a long drive. We're able to enjoy things that we never really would spend time doing. For example, like being at the office at 3 o'clock and getting a text message from a friend and saying, hey, want to go to a concert at the amphitheater in Palm Beach? Okay, 30 minutes if there's no traffic. In Miami, I'm planning that 2 weeks or a month in advance.
Right.
It's like little things. You just, wow, this is really cool. Or Brett and I live next door to the, to Japanese gardens and a museum. I mean, it's nice. We're part of the community there. There's always an event once a month we go to. There's just so many other things.
I think the number one word that David just said is that living here, it's more of a community. I would say being in Boca in general, if you compare it to Miami, where everything's just so spread out and there's so many different demographics, which it's great. But, you get to a certain point in your life, where I feel like everyone wants to be part of something. You want to be part of a community. And I think in our business, being part of a community is so important, because I think that that's where a lot of your bread and butter business will come from, as opposed to just like a random referral from here, a neighbor from there. To be part of a community, whether it's, the temple or, like I just joined the board of the Boca Raton Police Department, like things like that.
Cool.
That's where I feel like for us, being part of a smaller community will be great for the livelihood of our business.
Right.
Especially when you have these, unforeseen circumstances that just come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
You want to know that you have something to fall back on, which is those people that are always going to be looking for a place to actually live, as opposed to Miami, where, you're just waiting for another South American investor to come in and, buy a couple condos from you.
So getting to that then, would you say that out of all the areas, Miami, and I think I know the answer, Miami is the most, has the most number of international buyers there?
I would say so.
Yeah.
Yeah, Miami and then Fort Lauderdale is starting to change.
But I would Miami 100%, and it's always going to be the number, at least from what we've seen in the last years that we've worked in real estate. I think Miami is always going to be the most desirable place for those international buyers, specifically the South Americans, who really, I mean, the money from South America is really what helped build the economy in Miami.
Right.
However, as prices become higher and higher and higher, you're now seeing a lot of those South Americans starting to invest in Fort Lauderdale. And, they'll continue up the coast and they'll start investing more in Boca. Our neighborhood, for example, there's a lot of foreign, residents, and it's great. But as far as like the investor market, which, unfortunately, it's not the most sustainable business, because at the end of the day, if something like a pandemic is going on, people need a place to live, but they don't necessarily have to buy a condo to rent out for, income in downtown Miami.
Yeah. Do you have any idea what the rent versus own kind of ratio is down there?
I mean, again, it really depends on the area. So if you look at an area, let's say like that's very dense, like Brickell, And I say Brickell because that's just where you have, you know, the largest group of like younger people that are definitely not all owners. I would say you have a much higher ratio of renters than owners for sure.
Okay.
I would say, I mean, again, off the top of my head, I would say you probably have closer to like 70% renters.
Wow.
A lot of those investor units have then been turned around and turned into rentals. And it used to be when we were younger, you know, our friends and you know, colleagues that are young professionals and getting, you know, out of grad school. And now it's people that are, you know, they have a job they walk to, they love that. But as soon as they, you know, have a spouse or want to get married and have a kid, they're moving north. They can't afford or they don't want that, you know, they need space. So
is the natural progression like Miami, Fort Lauderdale, then maybe you explore like an Aventura? I think that's the map in my mind. Then I don't really know what's in between. Then you hit Boca.
Aventura is actually an extension of Miami. It's in Dade County, whereas Fort Lauderdale is a little bit north, so you're now into Broward County.
Okay.
Aventura, you know, we've actually lived there for quite some time. Our family also lived there. It's very, very congested. And the issue with Aventura is 95% of the properties are condos, very high-rise buildings. And, you know, although your views are beautiful, if you can get a water view, it's almost like become a concrete jungle. You know, there's no character there. There's no, it's also very congested. There's only a couple ways in and a couple ways out. So your traffic is like beyond.
Crazy.
Everything up here is spread out. Like we talked about having space and having land, and the city of Boca Raton, I mean, the way that it's maintained, you know, the sidewalks and just the trees and everything, you just feel like a whole different sense of community. And, you know, US 1 and Collins Avenue for Sunny Isles to Aventura, it's very, very congested. And, you know, hopefully you're in a building there that has a lot of amenities and you can enjoy where you live. But if not, you're stuck in traffic and to go, you know, miles in 10 minutes. It's not so, it has its time. And I think, we're seeing everybody kind of move north. I was just talking to somebody riding the bike the other day who lived in Aventura, and he just moved to Boca in the last year. And it's the same story.
So it's almost like you have to either love the community that you're in, or you have to be willing to sit in traffic. Further south, further north, it's like you have your single family house, maybe a condo, maybe in a gated community, I'm assuming, and then you go to your yoga studio, you go to the restaurants that you like you're not really stuck where you are. That's
why I always tell people, you know, I would say half of our clients are from there anyways. Boca feels very like Long Island, you know, in the sense that, you know, everyone kind of knows each other. It's very small. Demographics are very similar. And I mean, you know, you have that feeling of you drive, but everything's pretty close.
And you don't have to worry about parking. You know, there's parts of Miami, we plan on valeting 4 or 5 times in a trip down. We're going to a showing for a condo. We're going to a showing in a community. We're going to lunch. We're valeting the car 3, 4 times. And it's an inconvenience for many times that we don't want people in our cars. We don't know what we have in it. We might have our work stuff, a computer. Right. And up here, it's very easy. You know, the quality of life is just attracting. It's not just the people from the north. It's the people from Miami. It's the people from even Fort Lauderdale. They want a quality of life that exists here, and it brought us here. Yeah.
So you mentioned a lot of Long Island. Obviously, I live in New York, but I'm from California, and so you know, so I'm used to a very different lifestyle, right? Like obviously a different ocean. Where are people moving from other than within the state to any of these areas? And second question, would you say it's mostly permanent residents or just part-time or just, you know, second home or investors, right? Like, can you speak a little to the mix?
Okay, of course. So, you know, predominantly Boca is, you know, the people migrating to Boca that are not coming from other places within the state. Most of them, I would say, you know, traditionally have been and still are people from the Northeast. So, you know, I would say every other person you speak to in the area, you know, they've come from Boston, Connecticut, Rhode Island, DC, New York, New Jersey, that whole area, Philly, that whole area. But more and more, you know, we're even seeing people that are moving to the East Coast from California, from all over.
For jobs, people. I just worked with somebody from Austin, somebody from Denver. So people see the quality of life here, and they're picking up the phone, or they're getting on Realtor.com. They're finding agents, and they're looking at property. The last 2 weeks, I would say there's been a huge uptick with, you know, phone calls, people wanting to show our listings, other agents curious about our developments that we represent across South Florida.
From where? From where would you say?
I mean, really all over. Some of these people have, you know, the brokers, I always ask, the first thing I ask, so where's your client from? And lately, we've had more clients coming from Toronto and Montreal. People are interested in having a life down here as well. A lot of people that have
a lot warmer.
Yeah, it's a lot of there's just such a connection, and it's an easy.
But you know what? I think it comes down to the fact that for most people, especially as they get a little bit older, maybe their kids have moved out of the home, you get to a certain point, like, how many more winters do you want to deal with?
Yeah. Right.
And one thing that I always revert back to is when you look at the point of entry for purchasing a property down here, it's really whatever your budget is, because there's really a great property for anyone. I mean, I just sold a condo in like 2 weeks, and I think it was like $185,000. Beautiful 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom.
Where was that?
It was in Boca Lago Country Club. And what's great about Boca Lago Country Club is it's one of the few country clubs that doesn't require a mandatory equity buy-in. So if you don't want to pay like a $60,000 to $100,000 equity bond to be a member, you don't have to. So for someone who just wants a nice second home, or, you know, even retired couple or a retired person that just wants a nice, you know, cute apartment, and, you know, they don't want to spend $1 million, there's something for them. But then you could drive just down the street, pulling into one of the like really like primo communities, like let's say like Lilac, for example, you have homes in there up to $25 million. So you really have something for everyone. And I almost like to think of Boca as like one big country club, because we have so many beautiful amenities that just have to do with being in Florida, whether it's walking around or whether it's going into the swimming pool or riding your bike. I mean, there's certain activities that we're fortunate enough to be able to do, let's say 350 days a year. Yeah. You know, based on weather.
So what happens when it gets really like the middle of the summer? What do people do? Because a lot of people, like, I have relatives who own a second home in, you know, Palm Beach, and they come back north during the summer, right?
So here's the thing. I mean, you look at it both ways. I used to live in New York City. I also went to school in Boston. I, you know, having spent so much time living up north too, I mean, it does get hot up north as well. You know, there's been days where I would walk around New York City and I'm like, this feels hotter than Miami. So it does get hot, but I mean, we're so lucky to be able to just take a few minute drive and go to the beach, or like I can just open my back door and go into the pool. So I mean, you kind of change your lifestyle a little bit depending on the season. I know people like to say that Florida doesn't have seasons, but we do. I mean, if you look at the fall and the winter, it's much cooler outside. It's not 40, but you know what? When you're living in South Florida, which is really in the tropics, you know, having lows in the 60s and 70s and highs in the 80s, that's considered cooler weather for us. I mean, but there's you know, it is what it is. But you know, we're fortunate enough to still be able to enjoy the outside. I mean, in the dead of August, you know, I'm not going to sit outside at a restaurant and drink a glass of red wine. I'll have like a heat stroke. But you know, for those couple months, you sit inside and you know, you enjoy the air conditioning.
But
Cool.
being in our location, it's such a quick, easy boat ride, or you can get to the Bahamas super quick, or you're in the Caribbean in different islands and different countries. It's so easy. It's so accessible. We have a
Are
place.
there shuttles for that?
There's shuttles.
Or do
Yeah,
you have to have your own boat?
there are shuttles. There's, Resorts World has an incredible resort in Bimini, Bahamas. There's a casino there. There's a Hilton. There's a bunch of development going on there. There's other shuttles that take you over to Nassau and different parts of the Bahamas. We actually have a place in Dominican Republic, and we have our own real estate brokerage there as well. And it's only an hour and 50-minute flight, and there's flights, multiple flights out a day to multiple airports, the north and the south and the east there, and it's just so accessible back and forth. People.
That's so cool.
And it's reasonable. I mean, the cost of flying from here to Dominican Republic, it's very similar to the cost of flying from here to New York City. So,
Right. Yeah.
I mean, flying into Punta Cana or Santo Domingo, it's really the same as flying into JFK or LaGuardia, price-wise.
Well, that's awesome. Well, that sounds more appealing right now. So let's go to your property that you're going to show us.
Okay, so let's
share the
So
screen.
tell us a little bit about it, and then we'll, where it is, etc.
So the particular property we're going to show right now, it's about 15 minutes from Boca. It's in the Hillsborough Shores, which is off of the Hillsborough Inlet, which is in the north part of Pompano Beach.
Okay.
It's a great little nook. It's a great little nook because it's a very small community, and it's one of the few communities in the whole general area that has access to its own private beach. So the home that we're going to show you, it's a tremendous value for someone who wants to have their own beach. The house itself is not on the ocean.
Quick little walk.
It's about 4 to 5 homes off of the beach. Everyone that lives in their neighborhood is a member of the Homeowners Association, which is very reasonable. I think it's like
maybe $500 a year.
It's like $500 per year. But the association will then give those residents a fob, which opens the gate to your own private beach. So the only people that are on that beach are residents of that neighborhood. And you have a gorgeous lighthouse that you can see from Lighthouse Point, which is another neighborhood just across the inlet. And the value there is insane because this same home, if it were to be directly on the ocean, you'd be paying, 4 to 5. I would say $4 to $5 million. Where
and what is the price point?
We're showing you is priced under $1 million.
Awesome. Okay, let's see it.
So let me share the screen.
So we're going to be using Matterport, which is a technology that not a lot of brokers take advantage of, but it's basically a camera that they put in the middle of the rooms, right? And then takes a 360-degree view.
Matterport takes somewhere around 1,000 images and condenses them all, and it's really incredible. You can see, a little dot on a counter, like there. We've been using this with our own brokerage in Dominican Republic for years. We've been using this in Miami at our developments for many years, and it's been a great tool. There are foreign buyers that have bought without coming to the property that have said, if it wasn't for Matterport, we wouldn't have known, this detail or that detail.
Yeah.
I mean, crown molding to, to details like you'll see a covered barbecue right now.
I'm just trying to position it. You guys can kind of get the gist of what it would look like right when you walk in the front door.
So how old is this house first?
So this house is about 40 to 45 years old. However, the sellers have pretty much redone everything.
Got renovated, about a year ago?
About a year and a half ago. They put in all new hurricane-proof impact windows. They put in all new flooring. They redid the bathrooms, new air conditioner, water heater. So all of the major expenses that a buyer would incur, the sellers have already, paid for and, redone. The house is being offered turnkey. And the reason why having it offered turnkey would be a benefit is the purpose of this house. I know we've been talking about investments. This house was purchased by our clients as an investment, and they've made a tremendous amount of money having this house on Airbnb. So right now, to give you an example, there's a family staying in the house from Miami, a Colombian family that lives in Brickell. They have a young daughter. It's a husband and wife, and then I think that one of the parents of the husband or wife, and then their daughter. And they figured, why are we going to struggle and suffer during a pandemic in a building in Brickell where all the amenities are closed? There's nowhere for the kid to play around. So they rented this house. They now have
so they have 4-bedroom, they have 3 bath, they have over, 2,400 square feet, and nice sized lot, big area in the front of the home, and beautiful sand brought in from the ocean around the pool. Great outdoor entertaining with the barbecue and the chairs, and it's nice. Just a great setup.
So, all right, cool. Let's see it.
So let's give you guys a little tour. As David said, this house is approximately 2,400 square feet interior, plus you have an amazing outside.
You really have 2 masters.
Yeah. So as you walk in, this is the front door is actually right here. And
let's take them into the bedroom here.
You can go right into. Sorry. I'm not drunk. I swear.
No, it's all right. Don't Matterport while drunk, right? That should be the new thing.
So this is one of the bedrooms. They're all very spacious.
Lots of natural lighting. There's, I think, 4 windows in there. You can go into the bathroom.
And then
an ensuite bath.
A nice size closet. Part in the Matterport in the window.
It's okay.
That's what it looks like, guys. If you have any questions.
So that's one of the bedrooms. And then as you come back out of the bedroom, you can go right into the kitchen area. It is an eat-in kitchen. They have this area here kind of as like a dining room. There's not I wouldn't really say there's formal dining room space. It's just not that type of a home. It's more of like a casual feel. However, if you wanted to, on this end of the kitchen, you could easily do a table for 8. So you do have the space there. The kitchen was redone for the most part. They added a nice backsplash, new appliances and all of that. The space I was talking about is over here. You could easily put a larger table if you wanted to.
You have access to the garage to the right. And then that's another access door to the
outside,
west side of the home. Moving this way, you would go into another one of the bedrooms.
So this is another bedroom. So the first room I showed you and then this room I showed you, they're both considered like masters because they both have an ensuite.
Okay.
And this one actually has access to the outdoor and to the
This
pool.
one would be considered, this one is considered like actually the master. But size-wise, they're more or less the same. And again, as I mentioned before, the house is being offered turnkey. So the purchaser has the option to take the house exactly how it is. They could just, bring their toothbrush, or they can just continue renting it out if they wanted to, or they could purchase it, with nothing and make it look exactly how they want it.
Yeah, very nice.
One great feature that the sellers are offering with the house is their Airbnb and VRBO account. So you would get access to all those 5-star reviews that they've gotten over the last couple of years.
They've done a tremendous job at operating this.
They also have bookings even well through next year, which if someone purchased it and didn't want them, they could be canceled. But if someone purchased it and did want that income, we can provide, of course, all the income sheets.
That's awesome.
This is another bathroom. They're all nice size. They're nothing. It's this is not the most lavish type home. It's a very beach type feel. Okay, Okay, let me go back out of
It's like I want to open the door, but I can't.
I know. Well, I'm going to take you guys
I'll
outside
take you out in
too.
one moment.
All right.
So let me just quickly show you the other rooms, and then we'll go to the outside, which is the best part. So here you have this whole open living room. You have a huge sofa here, which folds down into essentially a bed for two. But again, you have a lot of furniture here. So if someone really wanted to do like a formal dining, you could also do it kind of on this side as well. There's plenty of options, but the space is certainly there. Then this brings you to the other wing of the house where you have another bathroom. So this would be the third bathroom. Nice tub shower and you know, just very clean. Then we'll go back out of the bathroom.
What is the price for this? You said it's under $1 million, but what is the actual price?
So this house we had listed originally for $835,000. The sellers have already purchased another home in Austin, Texas that they'll be living in full time. So they're now a little bit more motivated. The new price of the house is $807,500.
Okay.
So it's very, very reasonable. Here you have another bedroom, very nice size. And then what's great here is you have a ton of windows so you can see the front of the house. You have more windows here to see the side. And then the fourth bedroom is over here, which has a nice view
of the pool. And then you have another view of the side.
And then that pretty much concludes the interior of the home.
There's a great energy as soon as you arrive and you walk through the front door. You just feel super comfortable and you want to just,
What's nice is when you walk in, the first thing you see is the pool, which is a huge selling point. So now we're out here in the pool area. You have this beautiful covered
the lanai area.
Yeah, a lanai area that the sellers had put in with ceiling fans. You could certainly put an outdoor dining table if you wanted to. They did like a little, more like a seating vignette type thing. And then
spa, jacuzzi
they put the dining room over here. And then this is actually a smart pool. So all the controls of the pool can be controlled from either your iPhone or Android or iPad or tablet, or as well there's a remote that comes with it. You can check the pH of the pool. You turn the lights on and change the colors of them. You can turn the jets on and off.
Jacuzzi on and off.
The jacuzzi on and off. So you have all that here. And then what's cool is the sellers actually had sand put all around the perimeter.
So you really feel like you're at the beach.
So all of this right here, this is all natural sand. So you truly feel like you're more at the beach. And then I don't think I can click over here more, but they have a few lounge chairs back here and it's just sand. So, I mean, you truly feel like you're at the beach. And
there's storage outside as well, not only in the garage, but to the left of those chaise lounges, there's also a nice storage room that the owner can keep stuff in if he is or she is Airbnb, so they can feel like they have their stuff. And let's take you go back outside. Can you go to the front?
And what would the house rent for? Like on a monthly basis. Let's not talk like, weekly, but monthly.
I mean, generally speaking, around $6,000 per month.
Furnished.
Okay.
That would be for more of a long-term rental. That would be like an annual rental. But I mean, during other times, like right now, for example, I mean, they're getting beyond
that. Okay.
They're getting a lot of money right now. They had like 80 inquiries, and they decided to just choose a family that was local because.
And you said that Boca is around 10, 15 minutes away?
Yes.
With
so
no traffic.
If you're talking about like I-95, the exit for this property versus like the first exit for Boca, it's about 3 exits south. So it's very close.
Okay.
This is very easy for us to show. We're in Pompano area, I would say every other day. taking out buyers. It's very, very popular. I would say, people are searching for properties down there.
We also have a beautiful, like a lifestyle video of the property that we'll forward to you.
Yeah.
Because in the video, you'll be able to see what the private beach looks like. You'll be able to see more of the exterior of the house.
You can see the close proximity and just the walkability to the beach.
Is there a way to see that? This is kind of like an overview. Is there a way to see the front of the house on this?
Yeah, if you go back and you take it through the door and see if you can go back. Didn't go through that way.
Challenging, right? And what are the monthlies on this? You said the monthly, at least for the amenities, is like
the HOA is voluntary. There's no required association. It's just something that the neighborhood kind of put together themselves, and it's really just to maintain the private beach.
Yeah.
So I think it's like $500 or $600 per year, and then that's your only expense as far as.
There's like 500.
And then I think there's a one-time fee of like $500 to join that.
You purchase a home.
When you purchase the home. But aside from that, your expenses would just be what you'd have in any home, which would be, of course, your electricity and your cable and internet.
What are taxes, approximate taxes for this?
Your taxes are going to be, it's roughly 2% of the purchase price. However, if this were to be a primary residence for someone, which based on the layout of the house and the size, it could also easily be a full-time residence. You could homestead the property and then get your tax deduction.
Got it. Okay. Well, cool. Well, I want to be respectful of time for you guys and for our viewers. So this is great. Thank you so much for sharing this. I will include the link so that everybody can take a look at it. And if there are any questions, I could easily connect you all with the best brothers down in the Boca all the way down to Miami area.
Karen, thank you so much for having us. I definitely want to send you a link to our app, which represents all our developments in South Florida. Brett and I act as international sales ambassadors as well for One Sotheby's for all the new development projects. A lot of our clientele from the Northeast is very interested in new construction. We have projects from Delray Beach all the way down to Coral Gables, starting from 500,000 up to 32 million. So we're definitely going to send you a link to that app. It's free. You can download it next to your
iPhone.
Yeah, you can connect with
From
Facebook.
your iPhone. That's awesome. Well, thanks, guys. Thanks for
having us.
Thank you so much, Karen.
This was fun. Right now, I'm kind of tempted to just go down to Florida. Although I don't know about this one.
We have a guest room for you.
Thank you. Thank you. I would tell you I have the same, but I don't have any walls. So, we'd all be in one room. Well, thank you again, guys. You guys enjoy the rest of your day. And I'll be sharing the property tour as well as a separate video.
Stay safe.
Awesome. Stay safe, love. We'll talk soon.
You too. Bye.
Bye.